With the news on the floor. Get down.
Let me clear my throat. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Somebody pass around the offering. Since I'm always preaching on tracks, you feel me? I might as well get paid for it. Sermon of the day. You right where you supposed to be, baby. Informants informing, that information forming. Important you get a portion of fortune pouring. Confession, fortunately, blessings on now they snoring. You mellow, so focus on scoring. Got your underperforming. I never expect something, never assume nothing. Judging me for my past, but that's why I'm triumphant. I don't demand, I know where I stand like engineer hands. Watch how my life pans. That game plan, show out like a jotter, pop out like a cutter. Telling the kick rock, skipping the country squares like hopscotch. This gonna be my mood to my beat drop. Putting my boogie shoes and my diddy boots, ain't no stop. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Congratulations on the celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. No congratulations on no celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. Yeah. If having hope is dangerous, call me evil Knievel. You leading on the wrong side, living with peasant needles. So lethal, made Shane Black wanna write a sequel. Cause I snuggle my dream till it's seen as illegal. And I still probably will, cause I can never give up. I got my goals calling me, how could I never pick up? Either we make up or just break up. And the snake hits, get the rake up. Yeah, selfish, I'ma cake up. If I don't shake me to wake up. Let my depression catapult me to succession. Shine a light on my imperfections like a projection. Every struggle and lesson, your issues.
Hey family, happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. How is everyone doing? I hope you're all doing well. We made it through another week. Can you believe June is now pretty much say done? And the halfway mark of the year is finished. So as we are approaching summer, or we are in summer actually, and getting into the second month, I hope you've been having a great time with yourselves, your family, getting to do something. I know it can be tight because school, depending on where you're at, you got kids, school ends at the end of June. But make sure you find something to do to spend some time this summer. Find something. Find something to do to enjoy yourself. And make a world of difference. Just enjoy yourself. Tell your neighbor, enjoy yourself. Feeling a little churchy. But anyway, guys, welcome and happy Thursday to you. Thank you for joining us here on the Bravo with Sheila Network. I am your Thursday night host, the Lady Dawn B, your girl, your friend, that one. And I appreciate you being here with us and you tuning in and joining with us as we continue to have great conversation every Thursday night. We never know what we are going to get, like ever. So, we may plan one thing, but somehow the conversation takes a left turn somewhere along the line and we end up in another place, but that's okay. As long as we hit the sweet spot, that's all that matters. So, as always, again, I do welcome you in. Appreciate you being here. And looking forward to engaging in the conversation tonight. The month of June, we have been dedicating it to our men. And we have been talking about different things concerning our men, different angles, different aspects, different conversations. But they have all been good and incredible and amazing. And I would expect tonight is not going to be any different. So tonight we're wrapping up this month of June with a topic, daddy issues. Now, that basically any topic we come up with here is almost never straight-laced. There's never just what it sounds like. There's always some twist, some turn, some other perspective or angle that we bring out or we like to. So we have open dialogue here. And we want to invite you guys to join in with us in that open dialogue and that great conversation that we are anticipating having. And we just ask one simple thing, that as we engage tonight, we do so respectfully. This is not one voice, one sound. This is not a Christian network. Although those of us who are on the panel, basically all of us are believers. And so being believers, you may hear us reference what our moral compass is. I'm a God's girl, so you're always going to get a little Jesus when you get me, because that's my moral compass. But whatever yours is, feel free to share. Feel free to engage. Feel free to express. Just do us one favor. Again, do so respectfully. Again, it is not one voice, one sound. We are not here to be conflicting or to be confrontational or to convince anyone. We're here to engage in good, healthy conversation. And that's all we want to do so that we can grow and become better people, to show up better in the lives of those that are around us, and most of all, be better for ourselves, right? We want to make sure that we are open to other perspectives, because this is how we grow. Doesn't mean you have to give up yours, but this is how we grow. So again, we welcome you in tonight and ask that you just engage in the chat respectfully. And for those of you who are up in what we call the expensive seats, the silent section, we see you, we thank you, we appreciate you. We invite you to come on down to the comment section, say hello so that we can greet you properly. I promise you it will be painless, okay? You'll have a good time. It's safe down here. We have security, and we also have our amazing moderator, the innate Kenya. She doubles as security. And she says, hey, Bravo with Sheila Network. She says, hey, Dawn B. Hey, Innate. We appreciate you always being on your post. And again, she does double duty. Now, she will greet you and say hello and welcome you in. But if disrespect is found in the comments or on the panel, she will also so graciously escort you out. But thankfully, we haven't had to have her switch hats very often, and we want to keep in that vein. So we do ask everyone, enjoy the conversation, become part of the Bravo family, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you can be alerted to all of the other amazing conversations that do go on this network. Like, for instance, on Mondays, we have Mondays Beyond the Mic with our very own Dr. Elaine Sanders, and I get to ride shotgun co-host with her on Monday nights most of the time. But make sure you tune in, because I promise you, you're going to enjoy yourself and you're going to learn something. Let's see, what else do we have going on? So again, if you don't mind, please, man, please, sir, brother, sis, hit that thumbs up button. It looks like this, but if you just touch it, we appreciate that, because that helps us get further out into these YouTube streets. So I believe that's all of the house rules on tonight. Let's see who we got before we bring up our amazing panel. Oh, you know him, you love him. He is who I call my nemesis, because he and I have we pick apart conversation like nobody's business. So welcome in, say hello. He is family. He is not a friend. He really needs no introduction, but he is family. Welcome in, Vaughn, Eric, the Invisible Man. Says blessings all. And if you know Vaughn puts 49 L's so that everybody can have one. So make sure that you grab your L. It's not for loser. It's for blessings all. Okay? And enjoy the conversation. Welcome in, Vaughn. How are you? I hope you've been doing well. All right. And I haven't done this in a while, but I see my girl. Listen, y'all missed her last week, but she is in the building on tonight. And I know that she just loves when I do this. And I feel like it's been a minute, so she might need to hear it. So as I introduce her, I'm going to try not to give her too many names on tonight. I'm going to be mellow as I possibly can. But America has their sweetheart and we have ours. And you know her. She drops jewels, gems, nuggets, all the things. She wraps up our conversation with a pretty bow, and she keeps us in check a lot of times until she taps off to the left. Sometimes she might go a little rogue, but that's okay. She's allowed. We probably push her there most of the time. But as we say on tonight, on this very mic, you're about to hear, we swear, the best podcast conversation of the year. So cheerio. Y'all scream what? Bravo. Although if you didn't know, this is Thursday night with me and Lady Dawn B and the squad, and we are going to start the show. Welcome in our coach Theo into the building. Hey, sis, how are you?
Hey, sis, I'm doing okay. Today's a good day.
All right. I love that. We miss you.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. You know, I refuse to complain Can't believe this month of June has gone by. You know, I mean, what is it again? I was going to say whatever is perfect. You know,
Exactly.
I don't think perfection exists. I don't think easy is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at in life. So we just take it. Listen, you made it through this, you made it through that, you'll make it through this too.
Yeah, I just told somebody, I was like, listen, if you woke up to today, be grateful.
Right, that part.
That part, and then just think about all the other things you have to be grateful for.
That part. Yeah, I would say it's a great day to have a good day all the time. All the time.
Hey, Anae.
Oh, you know, and we missed you. Says, hey, Coach Theo. And she said, hey, Vaughn, Eric.
Hey.
So, you know, the squad will come a rolling in. And in this month of June, we have been just giving way and honor to the men in our lives. So, again, happy Father's Day to you, all who are fathers and are tending to their children's being present as they should. I'm just going to say happy Father's Day to all, to everyone. You deserve a whole season. And so that's what we were trying to do here on Thursday nights in this month, is give you the entire month, you know, so we can focus on some things, have some conversations, and let men speak freely. And, you know, the fellas will be rolling in. But right now, me and Coach Theo are just going to get into our part of the conversation. So the fellas show up. And it's okay if they don't. You know, we do what we do. We make it we make it worth your while. You know how we do. We just trying to give them a little space to, you know, to have a little. I'm just saying. I understand. So tonight's topic, we're talking about, is a common term that we hear quite often. I'm sure everybody has. Excuse me. We've even said it. We recognize it in each other at different points of life. And it's simply about daddy issues. My goodness. It's like we hear these terms all the time. And it seems like we should be tired of talking about them by now. But because they still exist, the conversations still need to be had. So, Coach Theo, what came to mind when you heard of the topic daddy issues? Or what comes to mind when you think of daddy issues? Just, you know, what's your take on daddy issues?
I mean, for me, what comes to mind is that I was blessed because I didn't have daddy issues. Like, okay. I was truly a daddy's girl. And while I know my dad wasn't perfect, he had his ways, we had a very, very, very good relationship. So, you know, I'm always thankful for that. But I do know there are people who have an opposite experience. So I always try to be cognizant of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good, because it is true. Everyone's experience is very different. You know, my dad was very present and engaging and active in our lives. You know, I'm the youngest of four, and my father was present. But, you know, one thing that I realized when I was thinking about this, when it comes to daddy issues, is that daddy issues, that term always has a negative stigma to it. Mm-hmm. And truth be told, we tend to think that those who were absent or had, you know, whose fathers were not present, we put that label on them when they react a certain way or they respond a certain way. You know, because they didn't have a father in the home and so they don't know. But I've come to find out, like you said, in being cognizant, some of us who have had our fathers still in the home
have daddy issues.
Yeah, you know, we still have daddy issues.
Yeah.
And a lot of it stems from the type of engagement, because you could be you can be present, but your presence is not there. You know, sometimes we've heard it on the panel, you know, talk about, you know, my father worked a lot, so he wasn't around. He was trying to provide. That can build up some resentment, because while your father comes home every night, you still don't have that engagement, that relationship building time, that space, you know, where you can develop with one another. So in all fairness, I think, and my thought just Lady Dawn,
Mhm.
that we all fall prey to daddy issues.
Yes.
Some of us, have daddy issues because daddy was home. And let's think of it this way. A lot of us, females, some males too, are spoiled
Yeah.
because of the way their fathers treated them, cared for them, covered them. And then you come out into the real world from underneath your father's covering. And then you have issues in relating to people
Mhm.
because sometimes dads can be overprotective,
Yep.
and that's an issue, and we don't think of everybody's not your father, everybody's not your dad.
Yeah. And some dads can be, and I have a friend, like her dad, gave her everything, right? Like, the way she was raised, her expectations, right, when it came to dating, right, was like she was looking for people that were going to be doing what her dad did, right? And that's not always the case. And so
Right.
sometimes I think people also end up having, like you said, problems relating to people or in relationships because whatever they have it, and we know this just to be true about anything. Sometimes what you experience in your household will spill over as you begin to, navigate this thing we call life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I do agree that, there are people that have their fathers in the home and have issues. And part of that also depending on the generation, right?
Right.
The older generation, right? That's what they did. They went to work, they came home, they sat on their couch, they watched TV, they went to bed, right? They may have, like, if your mother said, wait till your father gets home, right? They may have had a conversation with you or talked to you, whatever. But for the most part, they were really trying to deal with the grind of life, right?
Right.
Being in, and back then we know we know it's bad now, but back then what they had to deal with, right? And so they it may have shown up as my father's in the house, but my father, is a provider, but he's not really, providing that love. Some people will say they grew up in a household where they never heard their father say I love you,
Yeah.
right? So yes, I think there's so many, me. I always feel like there's so many pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, there are. There definitely are. And, I think that it's super important that we really start to examine things, look at it in a different light. Because some of us are looking down on other people, again, who haven't had fathers in the home. But sometimes those people come out better off or turn out better off and
Mm-hmm.
are more relatable in all types of relationships because they did not have that. So they had to learn how to stand on their own. They had to learn how to use, and I try to steer away from this word because I feel like it is just a, click word, unfortunately. But they have to learn how to rely on their discernment to determine how to move in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
not having that covering, and really becoming your own person because you didn't have it, but yet we often give it that negative connotation to those who don't have a dad, and oh, they didn't have no father, that's why they act like that. No, sometimes even with your dad in the home you act the same way like the person who doesn't have your dad in the home. Hold on one minute, let's see who came in the building. Oh, my girl, our girl Denitria, the soft life strategist, is in the building. She says good evening everybody.
Good evening.
Hey, beautiful. You know what? You should be on this side. I'm going to send it to you just in case you have time or want to pop up and say something. You come on up to the platform to do so. I keep forgetting. This is why y'all pray for my mind. I'm old now. Okay. And then we have who? My boo, Big Clay, in the building. He says, hello, everyone. Hey there, honey bun. Welcome in. Thank you for joining. And we look forward to everyone engaging in the comment section. Now,
Because I will honestly tell you, my father wasn't in the household, right? But my father made sure he spent time with me. And I think one of the things that I actually really love is that, my father had children from another relationship before he was with my mom, right? So, like you, I'm the youngest of four that, we share the same dad, right? Because I have another sister who we share the same mom.
Mhm.
But my dad made sure I knew my other siblings as well, right? And so that to me, I always tell people, for me, was such a great thing, because because they're much older than me. One's 11 years older than me, one's 10 years older than me. The other one, who's now no longer here on earth, he was 9 years older than me. But now that I'm older, right, I know my siblings, right? I have relationships with my siblings because my dad made sure that he spent time, like he interacted with all his children, made sure we knew each other, right? And he was intentional about
Mhm.
that.
And that's a good thing. The intentionality, like there's only four of us. And see, I was going to say something. Well, I'm going to say it in my mind because I already said it. God knows my heart. Sometimes I would be surprised, like, that my dad didn't have kids outside of, the four of us. I love you, Daddy. Rest in peace. But sometimes I would, honestly, I'd be like, wow. But even in that, like our father was a very hard worker, and he was present, and he made sure to engage with us. He made sure that we did things as a family, that we learned how to be present, be siblings to each other. We learned how to have, I would say, healthy relationships with one another, and what that family dynamic looks like. Although at certain points we could consider our home dysfunctional, I think everyone.
Oh yeah,
pretty much.
What household has a little dysfunction? Doesn't have a little dysfunction in it.
Right. People think, but people think that because everything is cookie cutter or picture perfect. It's like, yeah, but there's still some things like that y'all have going on that you need to. So everybody has something. But the presence of a father and men in our lives is so important. Justin sent something earlier today. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, but it basically was asking, what would we do without the men? What would we do? For as much as we complain about men, and everyone has something. Everyone, we are imperfect. We are flawed. We don't always have it together at all of the times. We just don't. And yet men go through so much and have so much, like, I don't know if I'm just becoming more hypersensitive to it, but we need our men. We definitely do. And they have so much on their shoulders that they carry silently. And like, my heart really gets concerned, and it really troubles my spirit. Like, how do we fix this? Because to me, the bigger question on tonight, and I was waiting for some of the men to come up. We got Moose Beach Strength in the building. I'll pull him up in a second. But one of the main concerns in this conversation that I want to have tonight, and I would love for our men to share and lean in on, share as we lean in, is what daddy issues do the men have? And not in the sense of you not having your father, not that. No, as a father, what issues are you experiencing and dealing as a person that we don't talk about, that we as your family see you strong and we just assume everything is well with you, we don't know when your shoulders are too heavy, when the weight on are too heavy, because somehow you find a way to adjust it, or you hide it well because of the expectation that you have to stand as this strong man.
Yeah.
Daddies have issues too, and we've been drilling this point of men being human, because we become desensitized, I think, what are your thoughts, Coach?
Well, I do agree that men and daddies have issues too, and I think in some cases one of the issues are that they have to deal
with us.
us. Right? I mean,
That's
and,
real.
and especially, and I'm not saying all, but especially, for like the man that is, and I know this because I know men who have, you know, wanted to be in their children's life, wanted to show up for their children, but the mom was using the kid as a pawn, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all the back and forth that the guy would have to go through and go to court to get to see his kid, and like just all of that. And so I think, those are some of the issues that they experience because, like you said, like, we think they're supposed to be okay with everything, and they're viewed sometimes in a way that they really don't deserve to be viewed in,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, right?
It does.
Yeah, and so I think that's a huge issue because even with me saying what I'm saying, right? Somebody somewhere is going to listen to this and be like, what is she talking about, right?
You know.
Because because the reality is we're not saying all, but we do know that some women make it very difficult for men to show up, whether it's showing up as a dad, whether it's just showing up as a mate, right? Whether it's just like you said, like, so I think there's so much to unpack, but I'm sure the men can express it much better than I can because I'm not a man, right? But yeah, I do agree that there's a lot of dynamics that they have to deal with, especially being a black man in this America.
In this America, yes. Well, let me pause to say this now. Ladies, we know we get tight sometimes when we put the spotlight on our men in a different way. This is not putting them on the hot spot, under the hot seat, on the hot seat in the spotlight. This is spotlighting them so that they can open up their mouths and share and tell how they really feel, what they're really experiencing, because they don't get the opportunity to do so as much as women as we do. So let me say this. This is not a him against her. This is not we are neglecting women's feelings. But ladies, sometimes it can't always be all about us. So it's okay that we let men, and I even dislike using that term, but that we let them have a day and a moment and space. But they don't have to defend everything that they say and defend everything that they do. So we want to have healthy conversation. And what I don't want to happen is that as we were discussing things or just mentioning issues, because we have open dialogue here, what I don't want to happen is see the comments that, well, what about the women? And what about when we do it? Well, what about when this is done to us? Ladies, we have more than enough places that we can go, and everybody is not going to like this kind of conversation, and we are okay with it. It still needs to be had, because I feel like when we come back with those type of responses, we're not listening for the message. We're listening for our turn to talk and to say, well, what about me? What about me? It has been about us for a long time. And now our men have had to go and sit and heal alone, in some strange places, so that they can get up. They don't have all the time. Nothing we're saying is absolute. We all know this is not absolute. This is not cookie cutter. It's not one size fits all. We are sharing from our well of experience and what we have encountered as well. We have our professional certifications and, degrees and all those things as well. But we're coming here and just talking as people, because sometimes we have to leave all those things to the side to have the real talk. We don't want to talk textbook and theory. We have the real talk about what really, we are going through and of what men are going through. And it's important we as women hear it from the mouths of the men themselves without being interrupted or without having to defend. what they're saying. So let's just be mindful in how we ask questions. And men in the chat, y'all please chime in, share in any way that you want to. But again, just in this conversation tonight, one of the perspectives is the fact that men, as dads, as fathers, as husbands, as people, have issues too, and they go unaddressed. They continue to carry them silently because they feel like nobody cares. Like, who's there to hold them up? And the only way that we fix this imbalance is that we hear from, the men themselves and let them share and tell us exactly, how they feel. And again, they don't speak for every man, but they do speak for some. So let's lean in and just hear healthy. That's really all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Let's hear healthy. I made up my mind sometime last year, maybe the year before, that I didn't want to be right anymore. I wanted to start getting things right. And in order for me to do that, I had to take a whole humble seat and be willing to sit down and listen and hear what other parties were saying, and just sit in it and accept it, and to figure out, how am I going to show up back in this person's life? Am I going to take what they said, whether it be good, bad, indifferent, truth or untruth? It's still their perspective. Am I going to acknowledge what they're saying? And this is what a lot of men need. They need for us to acknowledge that they're heard, not us attacking their feelings and how we respond. So I just wanted to put that out there as we continue in conversation. We see Moose B Strength, aka the voice of God, is in the building. So I'm going to bring him up to the stage. He will pop on when he is ready. He stepped aside. There you go. Hey there. How we doing tonight?
Hey, beloved family. How you guys all doing?
We good. How are you?
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm here.
Okay, well, come on and share. Come on and share something. We've said a lot so far.
No, you absolutely have, but you all spoke so amazingly on the topic. Yes, baby. So, you guys have spoken amazingly on the topic. I mean, one of the things that clicked in my head was when you were saying that, sometimes men have had to go and heal in ugly spaces, alone spaces. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You guys are getting ready to get in the tub. My hamper down.
And y'all see, they're present fathers, okay? We tell y'all that all the time. Moose, Justin, Big Clay, they are all active. He'll be right back as he is handling his daddy duties as well. We're going to remind him where he left off. But I do want to read this while he stepped away. When we talk about daddy issues, because sometimes, again, we mislabel people and we leave ourselves out. But truthfully, we all have a daddy issue in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. We all do. We're all looking for that strong presence to show up in our lives. And I would just, digress for a moment and say, ladies, we have to stop looking for our men to show up as our fathers. Do we expect protection? Do we expect covering? Do we expect provision? The principles of the things that our dads did for us as a man, yes, that we should look for. However, don't make that man compared to your father, because they are different relationships. And I think, in my opinion and in my experience, that is one of the things that trip us up quite often, because we're expecting our husbands to pick up from where our dads left off. And that is not a fair start, because our fathers have gone through things that our husbands have not yet. Our fathers, we start from, our husbands are starting from places that our fathers have already been.
Yep.
And so sometimes we're setting men up for failure because we expect them to just be daddy. I mean, you can be a different kind of daddy in a different way, but not like that, not as we would expect. And I think that's one of the things for me I had to unlearn at one point when I looked at my dad and the things that and they said, yeah, listen, that's an after dark conversation. You be daddy, different kind of daddy. That's all right, daddy, papa, however you want to call it, and that's okay. But, we have different, we have to give our men the opportunity to grow into the husband and man in our lives. Yes. Again, what protection feels like. What provision feels like. What feeling love feels like. What feeling appreciated feels like from a male, because this is what some of our fathers have shown us. But don't expect that man to love you the way your father did, because he's never going to. I tell my son all the time, don't ever bring a woman into your life and compare her to me, because she's going to lose every time.
Yeah.
Because I love you from a different place. My love for you goes deep. Her love for you is broad, because y'all are growing and building together in a different way. Mm-hmm. So let me pause, because Moose is back. We also got, and hold on. Big Clay says, hey, Moose. Who's shouting you out in the comment section. And then we got, who, Captain Courageously Coaching Vulnerability LLC, the tree chopper, wasp beater, got 50-11 jobs, that man, him work hard all the time. You know him, you love him, and we just gonna bring him up. Coach AJW's in the building. Welcome in, bro. How are you?
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
We good. Glad you made it in tonight. Let's see, before we turn the men folk loose, Demetria says, I expect them to have the same principles, and I try to give grace since they don't know yet, but most don't ever pass that. So how do we give grace, or do we? I think that is an amazing question, and I can definitely understand it. Let's see.
Hey, Lady Anae. Hey, Lady Demetria. Big brother, Big Clay.
Make sure your sister isn't out there.
Hey, everybody.
My brother.
So glad. How are you? So glad the men folks is here to help answer and share some information with us on daddy issues. And we're not just talking about how everyone complains about having daddy issues, or the stigma that is on this term of daddy issues, always relating to someone who doesn't have their father in the home. So their behaviors and the way they show up in relationships is based on the absence of their fathers. And just to recap for you, AJ, because I don't know how much you were listening or, were able to hear. Big Clay said, hey, Justin.
What's going on, brother?
We were sharing and saying that, we have to look at it from a different angle and understand that some of us who have had our fathers in the home still have daddy issues. We've got some things too, that the residue of having our father present, but maybe not his presence, has created some issues, for us. I was mentioning how we as women, how men have had to go off the weight that you carry on your shoulders. Often you do so silently, and we go unaware because of the expectation that is put on you to have it all together all the time. how men have had to go off and heal silently in uncomfortable spaces so that you can come on and be, in some cases, I want to say performatory or transactional because of the way that you are looked at, because of the expectation, not that you have the feelings. We keep saying this, like we have to start looking at men like human beings. There's only but so much that anybody can take. And we have to hear you out to find out what you need and allow you to have those human moments so that you're not carrying everything alone. One of the comments that I just made, as Denitra was, also sharing on, was that saying to the women, ladies, we have to stop expecting our father out of our husbands. Because there's no way, and this is again my experience, and I realized I was dating someone and married someone who, the more I looked at them, I was like, bruh, and I'm being honest. I know it's not 8:30, but y'all know me. He was looking like a loser in my eyes because I was comparing him, expecting him to show up in the same strength that my dad did. And it's unfair because he had not experienced life to be able to build up that strength, the same strength that my dad did. You know what I'm saying? You can come in the building on the second floor. Somebody else comes in from the parking lot coming in on the 7th floor. My dad is up here because he's lived through some things. Now, it doesn't mean that the same principles, like Denitra is saying, the protection, the covering, the provision, the love, the caring, yes, you expect those. I know what that feels like because I had it from my father, but I can't expect you to love me the same way my father did because the relationship is different. And I got years with my dad that I don't have with you yet. My father has worked his way up to being, say CEO, and you just starting out at entry level. Is it fair for me to expect you to provide at the same level my dad did in the beginning? And these are some of the things we as women put pressure on you as men to do. Does that make sense?
Let me ask, did you expect your father to provide, or did you just experience his provision?
I learned to expect it because I experienced it. Which is because I knew I could go to him when I had a need and say, Daddy, I need, and know that it would be handled. So that's how I expected him to provide. I didn't know what provision was outside of my father pays for this. My dad, you know what I mean? That's where I learned what provision looked like.
How long did it take you to learn that?
Probably, at a very young age, because my father, being the Bayesian man that he was, would let us know all the time that we have nothing. He like, y'all have nothing. Nothing in here is yours. He's like, y'all ain't work for this, you didn't put in for this. All this is me and your mother. We provide this for you.
And so I guess, yeah,
that's just my experience. I'm just saying that's just me. My life ain't everybody's life.
That's ultimately what it boils down to for everybody. If you're dealing with, I guess I'll call it the traditional man who's providing for the household, you have to learn how to receive that provision. And your expectations were built around the provision, not provision built around your expectations. I think that's two very different things. And I think we could go into relationships with an expectation of a particular type of provision that may not be the reality of the capacity of that type of provision. And when you do that, we create problems that don't necessarily need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I would say. But to expect your father out of a man that's diabolical. That's no different than a man expecting his mother out of a woman. And the love that you have for your father or your mother is supposed to be different than the love that you have for your partner. And so because it's two different types of love, it's going to be expressed and utilized very differently. But ultimately, I do believe that the love you have for your partner at some point, my interpretation of the Bible should exceed the love of the parents. And I'm going to squeeze that part in there because I don't want no fight.
It's okay. It's okay. We do what we do.
Yeah, so I think it's supposed to be different. I think you're supposed to expect. Now, I definitely feel like as a father, I am trying to give my daughters a perspective on love so that while I don't recommend they have an expectation of a man who is not responsible for them being here, I don't want them to expect him to be what I am, because I have a very different place in their life than he does. But I definitely, want my daughters to have some level of expectation, because I don't want my daughters to see, my daughters are so young, and it may be a full thing at the time, but I'm just not familiar with like the stay at home, play the game all day guy. So I don't want my daughters with that type of dude. Now, if he can do that and stream and make some money so he can provide a decent life, do your thing. But I don't want my daughters to raise a grown man. I would love for them to be able to help somebody, and I would love to see whoever they are with build something very beautiful. But loving a person the way you do your parents, I think that's creepy. But also it's just not realistic for me. I'm not trying to love you like your father. You know what I'm saying? I know everybody want to be a princess, but yeah, I'm not trying to love you like your father.
But you do know we are taught that quite a bit. I got you, Moose.
Absolutely.
That mindset of, girls look for a man who's like their father, and boys look for a woman that's like their mother. And it's just putting that out there, like, we need to think about what that means, right. Because we miss it. And that's why we literally look for someone that's like a father, not understanding that, no, that means look for someone with the principles, with the character of that person who has taught you what that is, the first example, so that you know what that looks like, so that you know what to look for or what to expect. One of the things I had to embrace was, you're loved when you feel loved. That's how you know, not because someone is saying it, not because they're doing gifts and all these other things, but when you literally feel it, like you know what that is, and then you don't settle for anything less. Moose, I see you. Come on, sir.
No, that's the other part where I was gonna speak on the same thing you just said. I mean, I first and foremost, if you want somebody that's like your parent to you, parent in the aspect of them parenting you in that way, or loving you in that way, I think you got to reevaluate that, right? And then, what you said about character, I think that's where we get lost at, right? You want aspects of this, of your parents, what you saw, the good aspects of your parents in that person. And I think that's what we need to teach, right? I agree with you. I think those are the things that we need to teach. If you see things, here's the crazy part though, right? why is it acceptable for us to, I'm not trying to cause anything, but why is it
No.
acceptable for women to look for a father in their mate, but it's not acceptable for a man to look for a mother in his mate?
That's a good question. We need to let that breathe.
I feel like I feel like the reason why a lot of times men are quiet is because we live in this contradictory world in regards to emotions and feelings. So men stay quiet and they express their sad frustration in contradictory ways physically too. You know, if I'm not going to have a space with you and I can't be truly loved by you, then why love at all? You know what I'm saying? So I think that I don't know. I'm not an expert. I think somebody should look into that, because that might be a reason why some men can't really stay in monogamous relationships, because there's no place for them there.
Hmm.
There's no place for me in a monogamous relationship with a woman, because I just will never be enough for her. I'll never be. I'm not daddy. I'm not what the world say. I'm not the six-figure man. I'm not this. I'm not that. There's a whole list of everything that I'm supposed to be besides me.
That's
So,
good.
I digress.
No, don't digress. You good. You good. This is what we kind of talk about. Again, we're talking about daddy issues, not just from the perspective of what we deem it to be, but what about the issues that dads, fathers, men have in being the dad, in being the father, in being the head, and being the one that the weight of family falls onto, that we don't talk about, nor do we support.
It's a
We don't.
job. It's a thankless job, and I'll never do it right. I'll never do it right. You know what I'm saying? And we fight with that mentality every day. Like, I can't speak for all men, but I can speak for men who consciously want to do the right thing. You know, we're always asking, am I doing the right thing? Am I getting away from the trauma of my youth? Am I making sure I'm helping my kids? One of the fights that I struggle with is like when I hear Justin talk about the beautiful relationship he has with his daughters, where he allows them to express themselves to him in whichever way, you know, necessary, so that they can still have that oomph in them. Where I struggle with is, how do I get my daughters to listen and still be stern enough for which I believe they need, right? And then in doing so, not take away that fire in them, because I don't want that to disappear. I want them to still have that fire in them. But then I also know the type of person I am, and if I'm telling you something, I need you to listen. And if you're not listening, my tone might elevate.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Hey, Moose.
Yo.
Let me ask a question. When you say stern, what do you mean?
For me, when I mean stern, I mean like stop, listen, obey, do what I'm telling you to do at this particular moment. It doesn't mean that like you can't come back to me later and talk, well, Dad, I didn't like how this went, blah, blah, blah. I always provide that for my kids. I always talk to them. But in the moment where I'm giving you instruction or direction, I need you to listen. You know?
Okay.
And I struggle with seeing the idea and seeing what you've created and saying, Dad, that's amazing. But
It's a process.
Yeah. I said, can I do it?
I think it takes, it's something I'm learning even now. It takes rethinking what I saw growing up that I defined as stern parenting. And it took me looking back at how much I did not say to my parents because they were stern parenting. So for me, it's not worth the loss to be a stern parent. With my daughters, like they're free to say whatever they want to say, but they also know that, hey, now I'm saying something. And I typically don't have to yell unless my youngest daughter is playing, then you got to tell her to stop playing a million times. Outside of that, just creating that atmosphere of a serious back and forth. And when it's time for me to say, hey, this is what's going to happen, then that's what's going to happen, and it's not up for debate. And I tell them that. And I typically don't have a problem with them because they understand the floor is open, you're free to speak. The floor is not open, you are not free to speak. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but you do have to do what I'm saying. And I don't necessarily just do that for me. I do that for the future partner, because if he's a man, as I understand a man, he's going to have to make a choice at some point that she's not going to agree with, and she's going to have to not agree with it, but follow the man that she's committed herself to.
Absolutely.
And that's just how that works. I literally, the reason I'm late because I was having a conversation with my oldest girl, because she has something that she's really committed to, but it's so many other people who don't have her vision that are trying to loosen her commitment. And I told her, I don't, if that's really what you want to do, nobody can stop you. Do it in the dark. Do it when nobody else is paying attention to it. Do it when nobody else believes in it, because it's what you want to do. If there's no failing in it because your success is doing it, then do it, no matter what, and take whatever come with it. I'm a supporter, but yeah, I think it's there's no right way to do that. It's just try it and see what happens. You'll figure it out as you go. Believe me. You don't have to. The struggle is trying to critique it so it becomes the fingerprint within the relationship that you have with your kids. But is it a perfect way? I don't think so. I stopped trying to reach for perfection. I started trying to make a situation that is identifiable within the context of my relationship with my girl. All other stuff, I ain't interested in it. And I'm gonna learn some stuff, and some stuff I'm doing now is probably totally wrong, but I'll figure it out as I go. I'm perfectly fine with that. So that's what I encourage you to do.
So,
Yeah, I'm definitely okay with it. I think I just struggle like, all right, so Lady Dawn, to your point, right? And thank you, Justin, for that. Lady Dawn, to your point, right? As fathers, we struggle, some of us struggle with, are we doing it right? That's what I see, right? Like even listening to Justin, right? So what I got, one of the things that clicked in my head was maybe by him creating the space for them to, i.e., express in the way they did, allowed the space for them to accept when he said, no, the floor is closed. You know, so it's just things, you know, things you learn. And one of the biggest things is like, I didn't have a father. So a lot of this stuff I'm learning and trying to do in practice in real time. And like when I tell my kids, a lot of things, times I tell my kids, like, I'm experiencing this for the first time too.
mm-hmm.
Every moment with them is a first moment for me. So Um, yeah. So it's,
So let me ask this: is it how do I want to say it? In those moments, okay. So truth be told, whether, and this is just my take on it again, just Lady Dawn talking. Whether we've had, it's wonderful for us to have models in front of us to show us how things are done. But with that same mindset, as we are saying, you know, this is our first day. We've never done this before. Our parents had the same first day. We've never done this before, you know. So we're all learning as we go. You can have the greatest parent in the world, and I have never encountered a child like my child before in my entire life. Yet my oldest brother is very similar to my son in behaviors. I didn't experience my big brother that way. So it was new for me. So my mom kind of mentoring me through certain pockets because she saw the same things, elements within my son. She could tell me what she did, but it didn't always work for me because Jalen is still very different. So it's kind of like we still have to take the pieces, whatever nuggets or scraps that we can get and apply it and just make it work for us. Because our kids, your kid is your kid. Each one is different. It's never going to be the same. What you do for them might be the same, but the way you do it might be totally different. And so I think what I'm trying to say is, or what I'm saying is, give yourself the grace and the space to learn, to unlearn the thought of having to get it right. Go into it with the mindset of knowing, because I tell Jalen every day, y'all know he's 24, bruh, I don't know you, I just met you today every day. I don't know who you are because I don't even know who I am today yet. I'm not sure who I'm going to be. So I don't know if the me that I am and the you that you are going to get along today. We are forever learning and growing as we are going through this. And as fathers, you do have that weight on you to get it right. It's like you guys almost have the mindset or the thought or have been taught or have either through observation, through exposure, or through being informed or told, like, you got to have it right. You got to get it together. You don't have room to fail. You don't have room to be wrong. You don't have the space to make a mistake. So that pressure of perfection is on you. Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm,
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Go ahead, Moose.
It does feel like we have a lot of pressure to get it right every time. Like anytime I fail as a man in society, with my woman, with my kids, it's so heavy. It's so heavy, and the weight of it lasts almost, it feels like forever. So like I don't have, you're already gonna be like any of us as human beings will, if we care and we have a heart, we'll beat ourselves up if we make a mistake, right? We'll look at that mistake and say, all right, I messed up. How do I make it better? What can I do? But for some reason in society, especially as a Black man, doing it wrong anytime, it's hard. It's hard. That weight, yeah, we don't get a lot of grace. We don't get a lot of grace with making decisions. And I tell my kids, in order to give my kids the ability to have grace for themselves and grace for other people, I tell them, because they have an idea when they look at dad. And I say, dad don't always know the right choice or right decision to make. You know that, right? And I remember I tell each of my kids that, and they grasp it at different stages. And each time when they grasp it, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. I was like, but a decision has to be made. So daddy makes it. I make the decision I weigh everything. One of the reasons why I talk to my kids the way I do, I try to give them so many different views and try to give them like, all right, I need you to see all the different angles and make a decision based on this, because that's how daddy does. I look at all these different angles and I try to run scenarios in my mind. Of course, none of them are, maybe 4 out of 5 might be right, or 1 out of 5 might be right, you know? And I run these scenarios based on the information, the data, everything. And I try to make the best decision, you know? And, you know, I want them to have that grace with themselves. And I want them to be able to give that grace to other people. And the only way that comes is from them learning that it's okay to not know things and still have to make decisions, you know? So.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think that is one of the greatest lessons that you can give them, because it allows them to look at you as a human being. You know, I thought my father was a superhero and I thought my mother was just like invincible, until I watched them both go through their mistakes. And what it taught me was like, oh, wow, like they don't know everything. Now, I remember I was very young, you know, why I was intuitive to this, I have no idea. But I was very attentive to them just watching, because I always wanted to learn. You know, I was like, I will sit there and absorb knowledge. You know, if you want to feed me knowledge, I'm going to eat it, you know. But what I learned from that and watching them do that, it was how they got back up. And it never took away my image of my dad as my superhero. In fact, I think it made me look at him like he was even more incredible, because I watched him make a mistake, fix it, you know, deal with it. It's the watching him fall and how he figured out how to get up and then keep going, you know, if that makes sense. And that made me like respect him even more. That made me more intrigued about who does that. You know, as a little kid, you know, you don't, you know, everything looks big to us when kids, you know. I know, Justin, you want to say something. Coach Steele, you up there quiet. I want you to say something.
I'm just thinking, because I'm thinking that, you know, we're at a point in time where these conversations are being had, right? Where back in the day, these weren't things that were talked about, right? So I think that also plays into it, right? Like because of how society has evolved, right? You know, how people have gone from parenting one way to parenting another way, right? We're having more of these conversations. And I was just thinking about what you're saying and saying that, you know, dependent on the individual and what you're exposed to, right? The same person that might have experienced what you just said you experienced with your dad might have viewed it a totally different way, right? So sure. then you begin to think about, right? Like what I was thinking about is not everybody actually, I think, is looking to marry someone that's like their dad or someone that's like their mom, right? But I think some people end up in that space without even consciously realizing that they have now, you know, looked and found someone that reminds them of their dad or have characteristics of their mom, etc. And so I just think that, you know, there's so much to unpack, right? You know what I mean? My mind is always right?
It's layers, always the layers.
Because there's always like these layers that I'm thinking about, because I'm like, depending on what you're exposed to, depending on, you know, what type of household you grew up in, right? We all, like some of us, a lot of us from back in the day, us Gen Xers grew up in what goes on in this house stays in this house.
That part.
Stay in a child's place, right? You weren't allowed to do
all that.
You know, so I think, you know, the good thing is that we have transitioned to a space where people are recognizing that, yes, my children have feelings. They're little people with feelings, right? And we're taking into consideration of how we're speaking to them. But if you're talking about people that grew up in some of the households that some of us grew up in, there's a lot that they probably need to unlearn. Right?
I agree.
And then it's like, how do you unlearn that, right? How do you get past some of the trauma that you don't even know you experienced, right?
That's a good question.
Because I think in some cases, some people don't even realize what they've experienced, right? Because what they grew up to them is normal,
Right.
So to me, that is the other thing. Like, as Moose was speaking, right, I was like, there is no perfection. There's no manual for being a parent, right? There is no manual. You learn, right?
Listen, my mama's still trying to figure me out.
Like, I heard someone say today, they was like, when they think about their children, right, just like they've never dealt with a child at that age. Hell, they're trying to figure out who they are at the age that they're at, right? Because this is their first time being in that space, right? And so I think it really speaks to, sometimes we have to take a step back and think about, just how we're evolving as people and society, and how there are some people that are still trying to unlearn some of the stuff they grew up experiencing, because in their mind that's normal,
Right?
There's nothing wrong with it, right?
And I think we just, even with that we put a lot, just linking that as well to our topic, linking it with our topic, because all of that plays a part in the foundation and the root of things. A lot of that, then the responsibility or the blame falls on the father. A lot of times, mothers, we may, we do get our fair share of it, but typically everyone blames the head. We don't want to respect the head. We don't want to support the head, but we want to blame the head. We don't want to listen to the head, and that pushes more pressure on, and y'all tell me if I'm right or wrong, but it's those inner things that we don't think about that put more pressure on our men to be perfect or to be so stern, because they're bearing the weight that no matter what goes on in this house, whether I did it or not, somebody's gonna blame me. If the child set a garbage can on fire and I wasn't there, they still gonna say, well, it's your father's fault because your daddy wasn't there. Or where was your father when? Or your father didn't teach you no better. Your parents didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I just feel that's the reality. Let's call the thing a thing. That's the reality of what happens. And it baffles me how we are not willing to respect men as the head and lead, but we are happily and easily and quickly to blame them for everything that happens, as because they're supposed to be the can't go Justin. I done said something. Let me read a comment. Hold on before Justin. Denitra, we're gonna get back to your first question about the grace, because I do want to answer that before the night's over. Keep your glasses on, Justin. Keep your glasses on. I was just saying, because I was getting ready. I was going somewhere. I'm just saying. Let's call a thing a thing. This is what I got to talk about. Daddy issues. These are the things that men still have that are dealing with. Like, it's my fault, but you didn't listen. How does that work? You don't respect anything I say, but when it goes left, you coming to me to make it right. So you want me to save you, but you don't want to stop putting yourself in the danger zone. Like, make it make sense. Let me read Denitra's comment. She was saying, there are certain qualities and elements I can appreciate from my dad, but I definitely don't want a man like my father. It is the values and qualities that I need to see that in my partner. Agreed. I appreciate what my father showed me in how a man treats a woman. My dad used to take me on daddy-daughter dates. Whenever he would come, he had moved to Florida. Whenever he come to New York, and even when I was younger, he would take me because he wanted me to know what it was like, what to expect, how a man should show up in your life. However, did I expect the man to take me to the places my father did straight off the cuff? No. My father was well established. Bro, you working at McDonald's. Like, y'all not in the same economical bracket, you know. But when you take me to McDonald's, are you opening my door? Are you making sure I'm in safe? Are you asking me what I want? Are you those things? You know, and it's just the level. So yeah, there are qualities that we should be looking for, but no, don't look. I tell my son, don't look for. You're gonna be disappointed. They don't make these unfortunately these ladies, young girls like they used to make us. They different out here. They worse than the females are worse than the males in some senses. Denisha says my dad was a Rolling Stone back in the day, and I ain't going for that. Exactly. That's why my siblings probably got daddy issues. That's right. See that this is again. Do you continue to carry that habit? Do you because that's what you were exposed to, you know, or do you remember what it felt like as a child to be in that situation and not want to repeat that? You know, we have choices based on what we've experienced. So to me, that's one of the ways that we unlearn those things that we learned. We had no choice to be exposed to what we were exposed to as kids. But now as an adult, what are we doing with that? I'm learning it by not repeating it and not exposing myself to it. Demetria said, I think it's acceptable to look for what you value and appreciate from your mother or your father and your partner when you have good intentions to build relationship. I agree. It is good. Know how to use the character and the integrity of your parents, those things, and what works for you. Because what you love about your mother, your father may have despised. You don't know. You know, he may have just gone along with it. So it's quite different. And they said to Moose's earlier comment, every moment with them is a first moment for me. Wow. And it's true. Like I said, and Moose said, preach. Okay, I'm finished preaching. I'm gonna yield my mic. Y'all, come on, men folk. Justin got his glasses on.
No, you said something earlier that I'm gonna blame it on you that you said it, but that whole idea of telling a man how to lead.
Can y'all hear
what
Justin?
You were saying, huh?
It's just me.
Okay. What happened?
He was asking, could we hear you? He can't hear you.
I can hear you.
No, he can't hear you.
Yeah, Moose can't hear you.
Oh, he got to plug and unplug. Yeah, he got to come back in. So, like, that's one of the things that I definitely try to battle with, because I was having a conversation with somebody today, and they was just like, you know, as a man, you can't tell me how to dress, right? And okay, fine. But if I'm gonna protect you, if the expectation that if somebody disrespects you or do anything to you out in the open, and we could have avoided that by you not wearing a uniform that does not fit what you are trying to present, don't give me the job when it's convenient, because you can't go work nowhere and tell the boss what you're gonna do.
You can. You may not work long,
but James and Michael Jordan, but they had somebody to answer to. And so you might be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but like, help me. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I was thinking about. Like, when I'm aware of some situations where I'm looking at how some sons are being weird, and I'm just like, well, that's gonna come back to bite. But it ain't my place to say nothing. But I just know that I ain't Generation X. I'm a millennial, I guess. And I was raised in a time where your pops and your uncles used to take all of the nephews out and treat them like Spartan children. If he lives, he lives. You know what I'm saying? And that's me just saying. They used to say it the other way, but I gotta be YouTube friendly, you know what I'm saying? But if he lives, he lives. Like, listen, whoever cry first or whoever get knocked out first, like, you can't eat dinner tonight. Like, and we all adults now. The statute of limitations on that stuff is off, and we don't do it no more. But that was like really how it was, and I can appreciate that because it developed something in me that I don't want to get into no mess, but I ain't ducking nothing either. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, like, for me, it's just like, yo, if you want me to function in the role that I'm supposed to be in, then understand my upbringing and understand that for me, I don't really care about nobody looking at you. You beautiful. That's how you got my attention. I'm looking at you, but there's some knuckleheads out there that's gonna say something that's gonna cost me everything behind you. So like, let's work with it. Or if somebody do try to put us in a position and I don't do something that's gonna cost me my life, don't look at me as weak. Look at me for what it is. I'm trying to be intelligent and function in a way that allows both of us to go home, go to sleep, and wake up in the morning. Because if I crash out and end up locked up or unalive, you're going to go find somebody else. And if you don't, you a fool. So let's do the things that allows us to be able to both go home. And let's see the masculinity in intelligence and good decision making rather than that crash out stuff. So yeah, that was something you said triggered that in me, because like, man, we look at stuff so weird sometimes. Like, well, we don't look at good character as masculine. We don't look at things that is going to allow for everybody to come out safe. Sometimes that stuff ain't masculine. And the reality is, shoot, man, masculinity is, intelligence is masculine too. Strategically living your life in a way that allows you to be able to wake up the next day so that you can continue to protect your family is masculinity too. And every man I know, I heard Jordan Peterson say that a man should have the capacity to be a monster, but voluntarily keep that in wraps. So under wraps. So I think every man that I know and respect, I believe that about those men. I believe that they want to be able to do the right thing. We want to make the decisions that's going to allow for everybody to go home and not make the news. But every man I know, like if I'm standing with him, I think that if it go left, we all going left. And so I think that's to me, that what you said just kind of triggered that thought in me. Like, man, come on, like allow us to be able to protect you. If my life has to be on the line, like it ain't about controlling you. My life is literally on the line. So please work with me.
Yeah, it's about, again, I think it was the comment that I made about, we don't respect what you say or your voice at times, but yet we hold you responsible for, our protection, our provision, sometimes, and again, not all, some, but that's something that we have to consider, because those are issues that you as men then have to deal with. It, we create sometimes problems or circumstances that put you in a position that you should not have to be in. And I think that is, that's fault on those who do it, because then where is our responsibility at to cover you? And I think, and again, you can correct me, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's one of the issues that you as dads and fathers and men have. One of the main issues: who protects the protector? Who watches you? Who has your back? And welcome in, Damien, Mr. Call Me First, Tamron Hall Show, best-selling author, a bajillion so Lewis going to the Grammys, even though it's a book. That's how amazing this book is. It's gonna take you to all the other award shows. That's how I feel about it. Welcome, Ed. Good to see you, family. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Of
I
course, of
appreciate
course.
it. I think I came in at the right time. I heard AJ talking some things I could relate to there.
Well, come on and share, sir. Come on and share. The mic is
I don't
yours.
really know what the topic is, but it just sounded like something I could relate to.
Well, tonight we're talking about daddy issues, and not in the typical sense of how we tend to think of them as, that label of, oh, a person is acting this way or showing up this way because they didn't have a father, the lack of a male presence in their lives. And we've been sharing that, there's a falseness to that, because some of us and all of us, some of us who have fathers in our lives who are present, we still have daddy issues. So, it's the presence, it's what goes on, what we've been exposed to. We all have daddy issues in some way, shape, or form, if we think about it. So we were saying how, I was making the point of the pressures to be perfect, the pressure of perfection on our men is unjust, because you are the ones that we go to when everything goes wrong. You're the first ones that we come to, but sometimes the last one we listen to.
That is true.
That
is true. So you know what though? Like, even with all that being said, I even just speaking for me, like, I find myself falling short of perfection all the time. Even though as perfect as I want to be, I find myself falling short of perfection. In the essence of, like, I would never get everything right. As good as some things may look on the outside, like, I would never get everything right, and I make mistakes. I got bumps in the road, and some of those things show up on the surface, even when you're not really looking for it. But as far as the attention to be the protector, the provider, and still not get listened to, I think once a man's track record, I think you have to prove yourself first, though. And if I'm on the right topic here, I think you have to prove yourself first, though, for the woman to be able to follow you. I think you have to have a certain sense of leadership that is a sense of leadership that is unchallenged, meaning that you have made great decisions, you have made great choices, you have done what is best for the family. So I think the position of being a leader that someone listens to, I think that comes with some trial and error. That comes with you proving yourself before any of that can happen.
Okay, we appreciate that. Again, no, you're on point and you're on topic. You're sharing your experience, your perspective, and sharing from your well, which is what we want. It's also, how do I want to put it? I think that there should be, I want to say, I understand in some cases respect is earned, but the pressure that gets put on you as men to lead in every way. I said something earlier, how men go and heal in silence and in uncomfortable spaces because you are expected to just continue to do things right. There's no space for you to make the mistake, because the burden of your mistake, the burden of having a mistake is on the entire family. No matter what happens, it always comes down to, what you did or what you didn't do, and how that weighs on you as a man. Like, how do we as family and as women, it's what comes with being a man, I guess. But at the same time, there has to be a space that we as family and as women have to cover and guard you also, because you shouldn't have to go and heal silently and in uncomfortable spaces all the time. We know that as men, y'all are going to go do what you do, And we get that. And you do need that alone time. But we should not be adding to the weight of that. If that makes sense. Hold on. I just want to read Denitra's comment. She said, "Oh my God, I didn't know being a lady was so dangerous. Let me go find some clothes."
Man.
We just say don't put your man in compromising situations, like make safe decisions with everybody's life. But did that make sense, Damien? What you saying?
Oh yeah, for sure it does. For sure.
You know what, Lady Dawn? Like,
Yes, sir.
even to what Denitra just said, right? Like, we are so comfortable with this civilized society that we live in that we forget everybody ain't civilized. You know what I'm saying?
Good
So
point.
I ain't trying to protect you from the civilized. I'm trying to protect you from the knucklehead. Because just like if you ever watch them documentaries about young male lions when they get up a certain age and get kicked out of the pride and they have to go through that testing phase where life will either make them or break them, they'll come back to that same pride and end up trying to fight their own fathers for dominance over the pride. And there's some young knuckleheads out there right now that's willing to say whatever and do whatever. And as a man, you gonna have to, like, bro, you want to really play that game? You know what I'm saying? So it's a protection from that aspect of manhood that is not, I wouldn't call it toxic. I would just say that there's an element of people who have not been fully civilized yet that I'm trying to let them get civilized so that I don't end up having to, show that I'm from that uncivilized place too. And so I think that's the part that we have to keep in mind. Like, we want to teach everybody. We want everybody to be able to function within society, but there's some people out there that ain't functioning right. And I'm trying to protect you from them people, but I'm also trying to be able to make it home myself.
I mean, I think though that just going back to the time we live in, right? And not that it's right or that it's wrong, but there was a time when it was about respect, right? When women knew when they left the house that you didn't need to not be dressed in order to be sexy, right? Somewhere along the line, that has changed, right? Everywhere you go, everywhere you see, people don't have a problem with the shorts where their butt is hanging out of them, right? And wearing scarcely clothes, right? And so I think it's also not that it's right, but it's also just a sign of this time where, some women just feel like for them, that's what they see. That's what they know. That's what the trend is. And then some of them might feel like, you know what, dude, you met me like this. Now you're telling me you don't want me dressing like this, right? And so that's another issue that comes up, right? Not saying that is right. Not saying that is right. But in some cases, that's what happens. And unfortunately,
I got a question.
People have to have respect for themselves and they have to have respect for their man, right? Because if you have respect for your man, you're going to be conscious of how you dress when you leave the house.
Let me tell her I was a broke bum when she met me, and I should still be a broke bum. Let me say that.
Oh my.
But listen.
It is officially 8:30 and we have gone left. Yes, Moose. Yes.
Listen, you might get that.
Damien had a question and Justin had his hand up. Lord, Justin is drinking.
I'm sorry, Brother David.
No, that's all good.
No, you good. That was on point. That was on. I'm not bad at that.
You might just say that, right? But unfortunately, like I said, it's not right. But that is the mindset of some women, not all, but that is the mindset of some.
Okay, so even going on, so I want to add on to that before Damien asks his question. Don't forget your question, Damien. I think we as women also have to keep in mind, what issue are we creating for the men in our lives when we do that? Not just for us, but then we are exposing our young daughters to that.
Yeah.
And so now the father has to not only, you know what I'm saying? Again, it becomes a daddy issue because now you are teaching your young daughter or you're exposing her to this type of appearance, which, as Justin said, everybody is civilized, you know, and the culture and the time that we live in, you're going to come home because something happened, somebody said something, some young man did something, and you're going to tell your mother, and what your mother going to do? Your mother's going to go and tell your father to go handle the business. Now, I didn't have that option when I had my son. Something happened with my son in the street when he was young, and I literally had to go put on my slippers and get back in my car and was driving around by myself, okay, looking for who has accosted my child, you know, and found it by myself. But I'm saying we have to think beyond ourselves and beyond this, because it's not just you anymore.
But
you know, it's not just us anymore.
But when we think beyond ourselves, we have to think about the fact, right? We're having a rational conversation, right? Rational people.
And don't forget your question, David.
That have lived life, that have experienced things, that have grown, that have evolved, right? There are some people out here that have not gotten to the point that we've gotten to. Right. And so when we're having this conversation, we also have to kind of speak to those people in a language that they can understand. Right. Because we're talking rationally, right? We're rational people. We're logical people. Right.
We're logical people now.
Exactly. Right. And so we have to also stop and think about the fact that there are some people out there that we need to teach them, but we have to also kind of speak the language that they understand.
Yeah, uncivilized, like Justin said,
to get them to the point that hopefully they see the light, right? And they see that there's a different way to live, and there's a different way to carry themselves. And there's a different way for them to interact with people, right?
True. Come on, Damien. Ask your question. I don't want you to forget. Yes, Coach, you are correct.
Yeah, I think just going back to what Coach Thea was talking about with the dressing and wearing certain things, and I kind of wish maybe one or two of those ladies was on the panel, because I'll probably get an answer from them, because I know you guys are maybe a little different. But I want to know, when you're dressing like that, the provocative kind of way, even though you might be comfortable, you might feel like it's your thing and this is what you want to do, even if you got a man or whatever it is. Do you still, in that capacity, do you still require protection from that man? That's my whole thing. Do you, as a woman, you know what I mean? Do you still require protection from that man? And especially if this man does not want you to wear such, right? And you do it anyway. Whether it's you wearing something, whether it's you going somewhere, whether it's you staying out late, whether it's whoever your friends are that you're hanging out with, and this man may feel a certain way about these people, and he has shown to be of good character and good judgment. Do you still require his protection when you get jammed up in those situations, right? And so then I said all that to say this. I heard a brother say this, Jason Black, Moose know what I'm talking about. He said this: a man cannot protect that which he does not control. Would you guys agree with that?
I agree.
I agree.
At the core of that, yes, I agree. Mm-hmm.
So in the essence of him, and just going off what Justin was saying earlier, in the essence of what him protecting you, he has to be able to control certain things that you do. Has to be. Because under his protection, he knows what his capacity is, and he knows where he's willing to go. And he knows, like, listen, if this goes a bit farther than this, you're going to put me in a position to go a bit farther than I was intending to. And this is all because of you, because I couldn't control what you were doing.
Mm-hmm. 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 And I can definitely answer and say yes. We do. Even setting us up for those possible situations, some of us, not all, intentionally do that or dress that way because we're resting on the fact that I can go out like this because I can be the beauty because I got my brawn right here.
No, don't do that to us.
It's not, I'm saying it's not wise, but I'm being honest with you. You know, I'm telling you a real mentality that some women have and may not admit, but many of us add to the situation purposely because we feel that we are protected and invincible because we got him behind me.
I think women got to look at it like this too. There was another one of us out there too. If you get what I'm saying,
Yeah.
God didn't just make me the way I am. He didn't make Justin the moves the way he is, the protection. There's going to be another one that just like us out there too. And then when both of us meet each other, somebody's not walking away. Why would you do that to me?
Because women, we're in that, women in that space, y'all know me, I'm gonna tell it like it is. It's selfish, it's self-centered, and you are disposable to me.
I got it.
That's the reality of it. I don't respect you. I don't have care for you, because if I did, why would I put you in that position? You mean to tell me that this skirt or these booty shorts is more important than these $30 pants I'm wearing is more important than your well-being, your life, possibly? Like that's the reality of it. And when we do that and we buck up against you arguing about I can wear what I want to wear and all of that, well, then you protect yourself too.
Exactly.
But I think that also comes down to, like, I'm just going to keep it real. This is from my life experience, right? Even in my 20s or 30s, if I was going somewhere, it was nothing from my godmother, my mother, somebody to be like, where you going in that? Right? And so you learn, right, to have respect for yourself, right? So for me, and also, like, you know, I know I could go out fully clothed and I know I still look sexy, right? I don't need to show
Absolutely,
stuff, right? But also
lay it in my sweats.
But also some of that also came from women that were in my life that also taught me that, right? That you didn't have to go out, you know, half dressed, right? Leave something to the imagination, right? But also I think it's about respect for yourself, right? But I also do agree with you. Also, some women feel like, you know what? I can do whatever I want because my man is going to be here to take care of me until your man is not.
That part. And I'm being honest about it, because me and my girls would go out and I'd be like, I can handle myself. I'm heavy-handed and I get all of that. I already know I can't be the man, but you sure gonna know that I was there in the fight. That's all I'm saying. But
Hold up on this.
I would not allow myself to put, and then I've dated have never been small men.
No,
they're men who, and I mean, it doesn't, no matter how big you are, doesn't make you invincible. But I'm saying, I'm not gonna add to a situation or even create a dynamic. We could walk in with our sweats and a man still create an issue. But I need to know that I didn't provoke it, add to it, you know, or put myself in a position where you now have to put your life on the line to protect me. As a mother of a son, and I mean, I had this mentality way before I had a child. I tell my son all the time, yep, you protect it, but be mindful of who you choose to go out with and where you're going and how she's carrying herself. Because if I get the phone call that something happened to you because you were protecting her and she intentionally caused this type of situation, oh, I'm bringing her back to life and choking her out. That's just what it is. You know, just plain and simple. I mean, we got to think beyond ourselves, but women in those situations, honestly, like I said, selfish, self-centered, inconsiderate, do not have respect or regard for you and consider you disposable. And that's a reality. A lot of women won't say it and won't admit it, but that's what those signs show. And men, I'm sure y'all know it and y'all feel it when these things happen, but you're still trying to be the gentleman and the man.
But also, how can you have respect for your man when you don't have respect for yourself?
People got to learn to define respect. Unfortunately,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Very different for so many.
that's it. Everybody has a different definition for what respect looks like.
Sadly, so that's why I ask in all relationships, clarify and define. When you say you love, what does love mean to you? Because I gotta make sure we on the same. What's understood doesn't need to be explained. So that's where I'm at. Justin, you want to say something? Moose, you want to say something? Let me read these comments quick because they chat. Denisha says the protection I needed. That's a real good question, Damien. The protection I needed didn't ever come from a situation where my clothes were an issue. And that's a wonderful thing, and again, we're not saying all, but this is a real thing. These are some of the real deal issues that men deal with that we need to make aware, because women have to start thinking differently, because you're going to be crying over his casket for what? Over some $30 booty shorts. Does that make sense? It's too late. Just be mindful of how we position ourselves. Moose said, y'all hear that? Protect your own protect your own disrespectful behind.
You in timeout, Moose. You in timeout.
This is the men's night. We can't put them on timeout. They're allowed to speak freely. Tanisha said it's a fine line between control and protection in some cases. And that's true. But like Damien said in the quote, a man can't protect what he can't control. And control is not always a bad thing. Sometimes we have to allow that control.
We need somebody to control us.
Help me help myself sometimes. Help me help myself.
I was gonna say, sometimes we need somebody to be like, hey, let me pull your coat.
It even goes for your children in any aspect. It goes for your children also. It's just like you teaching your kids. Like if you're walking on the sidewalk with a kid and you get ready to cross the street, if your kid is a little bit ahead of you or beside you, if your voice saying stop doesn't stop them, how could you protect them? It's the same thing for everything. When you were the protector, you're the protector of everybody. When I say control, I don't mean like, I'm telling you what to do, when to go in, when to come out. But be respectful with certain, and understand that certain things happen at certain times, certain things happen in certain places. And the fact that I know what happens in these places, as much as you might feel like it won't happen to you because you're with your friends or whatever situation is, listen, I want to be able to sleep at night. Come home at a normal time, please. Don't hang out with this chick right here, please.
But it's as simple as, not to cut you off, but it's as simple as, like, recently I was in New York, right? Walking down the street with my cousin. He was like, yo, get on the inside, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I didn't get upset or whatever. I was like, all right,
But he understands. He understands his role.
Exactly. So it's as simple as that. Like you have as a woman, you have to recognize when the man has your best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you,
and it's not necessarily being controlling. It's being
it's different. It's protecting. Yeah. It's different.
Exactly. It's being protected.
I think we perceive it as control when it's a response that we don't like. Then we're quick to say it's you trying to control me. In some cases. And I will say, and I will admit, and Justin, you got it next. I've learned about this opening the door thing. I've learned it from a different perspective now. I'm just saying I'm not learning it in levels, y'all. Because in this conversation, I'm being really serious. I never considered it in that sense of even that being protection. Because you opening the door for me to let me in or out of the car, you're making sure I'm okay and secure before you go to your side and get in. Because if anything happens, I'm opening my door. You already on your side. Anything happens, you understand what I'm saying? I've never really thought about it in that regard before. So I'm learning.
If anything happens, you're already safely in the car.
Right. And not thinking of it as controlling, like I can open my own door, although we know I've come a long way. But I'm just saying that is something else. There's something else that I've learned, and I'm being honest, in my 57 years of life, I never looked at it that way. but I had to think about it in how I would do with my son. Like, why would I put my son in the car first, make sure he's good and safe, and then go to my side? Because again, if anything pops off, I don't have to worry about me and you. I know you're safe.
Yeah.
So that's a way of, and not control. So I just wanted to say that, well, we all learning. Look at us growing. What you got to say, Justin?
No, I just want to second what you already said. Like, you as the women as the woman in a man's life, you are the vulnerable and the valuable. And in male culture, you can't let nothing happen to your family. The men won't let you live it down. Your family getting messed up, and you didn't do anything about it. That'll be rough on your mental, along with the family being in a situation. So I think it's just it's valuable to not view the control as taking something from you. It's valuable to view it as adding something to you, because you're dealing with somebody who is making an effort to go home safe, but is also willing to not go home at all behind you. And I think that's something that should be honored and respected, and not don't look at it like it's and I seen what Demetra said. It's a fine line between control and protection. The line is visible when you know who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a man, it is very, very, very clear that the attempt is to protect. But again, that also depends on your perspective of what a man is. Because some people think the crash out is a man. And nah, he just willing to crash out. Ain't got nothing. It ain't even a crash out. Ain't even doing it for you. He doing it so he don't look crazy. So just consider that. You want somebody. The behaviors can be the same, but the reasoning behind it can be very different. And I would just say keep that in mind as well. Like, a man is really genuinely trying to do what is best for his lady.
No, thank you for that share. No, that's good, because again, it's just things for us to think about. As we grow and we go and we're trying to change, our community, our culture, our families, from the inside out. These are things that we have to consider. Coach Theo said earlier, how do we unlearn some things? It's through these conversations, through hearing the real perspective and insight from men, as to really what's the logic or what's the motive behind some of the things that we do. Because I know I've misinterpreted a whole lot of stuff when it comes to men. I have. And so I've learned to understand it from a different place, which took the change in me and my life, and me being open to different things. We got to be willing. Denitria said, maybe I'm a little disrespectful then now. No, you're not disrespectful. She said, I guess you really need to have a mutual respect in your relationship to recognize that your person has your best interest, not my experience though.
But I think Damien said that, like, when he came in, right? Like when he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but I think when he was talking about, you trusting, right? You have to have a trust in your person. So I think that goes to, if you've never experienced that, then it's understandable how, you may be a little leery about whether it's control or protection, right? Versus what Damien was saying, where you trust the person enough to know that they have your best interests at heart, and it's more about protection than it is about control. But there's levels to this, right? There's layers to this.
Yeah, you got to learn what it looks like, and I don't think that you're not.
Yeah, you're not disrespectful.
Yeah, you're going by your experience. That's what any of us can do. Listen, I was a lot of disrespectful. I wasn't a little. I was a lot of disrespectful, and I can't even say because I hadn't experienced that. I was just a lot of disrespectful. But until you get to that place, we do what we know until we learn different. So like this conversation may give you a different perspective to begin to think about or to consider, as you move forward. But your experience is your experience, and mutual respect is something that in the beginning you have to give a little, you earn. It's given a little, it's earned a little, and it grows in time with the right person. When you both have, again, that mutual mindset. That's what I think, or in my experience. But again, this conversation, I don't really want to wrap it up, but I don't want to hold y'all hostage either. I love being able to shoot these type questions, thoughts, comments, conversations out to start dialogue, to cause people to start thinking differently, to tell the truth about the real deal of situations, really what's in our hearts. Because until we get honest about things, and until we're willing to sit through the hard conversations, have them, and still get up from the table together, we're never going to grow, we're never going to get better, and we're never going to rebuild our communities and our families, which is really what this is all about. Is us being able to learn different, being open to honesty and transparency, so that we can go and grow respectfully. I appreciate, June has been an amazing month. I am Team Men all the time. My favorite segment, y'all know I'm biased, is the Men's Lounge. Why? Because something happens when men speak, and I know it does, because something happens for me every time I hear my brothers talking. It allows me to consider something from another perspective, and I appreciate you all for sharing on tonight. It's the first, not the last, of many more to come. So I want to give the men the opportunity to share final thoughts and comments. Justin, I appreciate you. Moose, I appreciate you. Damian, again, welcome to the family. I appreciate you. All these brothers are amazing in who they are and what they do, and they're genuine and authentic in who they are. They live what they speak, and that's why they can speak it, because they live it. But I do want to give you guys the floor to share your last thoughts, comments about daddy issues. Again, this wasn't just a conversation about those of us who have issues because of the absence or presence of our fathers, but we wanted to touch on the perspective or the angle that no one thinks about, which is the issues that fathers have or men have in leading their families, and the weight that is, I want to say, unbalanced on their shoulders, that sometimes we create so that we can hear from you and learn how we can help pull that off your shoulders. So I guess my last question to you guys tonight would be, how can we, as your families, those who love you, who care about you, and this is not for everybody, because we all know that everybody in your life may not love you, care about you, for those of us who do, y'all know I'm gonna keep it real. For those of us who do, what is something that we can do, or how can we show up better in your life to support you or support our men? Let me read this last comment. Denitra said, I definitely find these conversations helpful in unlearning some of these learned behaviors. Love hearing the men speak. Absolutely. Yay. That, you know what? My job is done. Thank you, Denitra, because I feel better. But please share with us, what is something that we, as those who love and support you, can do to help to get some of that weight off of your shoulders and make it safe for you to share, so you don't feel like you're in it alone, so that we're not respecting you when we want something from you, but not listening to you, when you need to tell us something, if that makes sense. So I guess we can go from Moose to Damien to Justin. We'll work it backwards.
For me, just think about it from this perspective. If it was you at the helm, how difficult would it be trying to do what you're telling me to do? Think about it from that perspective, right? If it would be difficult for you, then assume that it could be difficult for me as well, yet I'm still doing it. So the least you could do for me is be cooperative.
All right, y'all heard it here. Damien, Mr. Call Me First Lewis, it's on you.
I think I would say, don't make my life harder. Meaning that don't get in my way. Don't go out of your way to get in my way. What I'm saying is
That's
don't
good.
don't go out of your way to get in my way. What I'm saying is, if I'm the leader, if I'm the protector, if I'm the provider, let me work. Your job is to support what I got going on, and we support each other. But if I'm the head, support me, and you do that by picking up the slack where I might be slipping at. Give me advice when I need it. Be a shoulder for me to cry on when it's time for me to cry. Just be there for me. If I'm a lead, let me lead, and you be there for me when the time is right. This is all. A lot of us will be okay with that. Be there for me. Acknowledge my efforts. See how hard I'm working. I know that I'm doing this for you and for the kids. And also too, I'm gonna tell men this too, right? If you are the leader and you're doing your job correctly, you will not always be liked by everybody. Not even your own children. They ain't always gonna like you. If you're doing your job right, you are not always gonna be liked. You're gonna make some tough decisions. You're gonna hurt some feelings, but it's gonna be for the better, greater good of the family. And right now, you're not. Your job isn't to be friends. Your job is to prepare these kids for the world and prepare your family for the storms that are down the road. So, I had to learn that this weekend. I ain't always gonna be liked, and so it is what it is. So yeah, that's my thing. Every week I learn something. And sometimes, for whatever reason, y'all come up with that topic, and I'm like, yo, I could express it right here. But every week something happened, and I'm like, yo, I could talk to y'all about it. But it is what it is.
Welcome home.
Yeah,
This is what we're here for.
Yeah.
Practical, real time. See, we matter.
Yeah, man.
We matter.
Yeah.
Come through, Coach AJW.
You do me a favor and repeat the question again.
What is something that we, as those who love you and care for you, can do to support you in getting some of the weight off of your shoulders so you're not carrying it alone? How can we show up for you?
I think find ways to let the man know that the sacrifice is seen and honored. I think that's really important because, like Moose said, and I've heard Damien said before too, it's a thankless job. You don't, because the idea is that you're supposed to do it, people feel entitled to the sacrifice. Not only is the physical aspect of it rarely seen, the mental toll that it takes is not seen or even expressed. But just know that if it's a task for you to accomplish it, then it's also a task for me to accomplish it. And it seems so easy because the person is doing ain't even allowed to express that it's not. And it's and in the age of the internet, all we see is what appears to be the final product. We don't get to see the process that got them there. We don't get to know if they're even actually there. We don't know if they took that picture on that private jet and then jumped right off. We don't know if they're not in a booth somewhere looking like it's in a private jet. We just know they look like they're in a private jet. And so just honoring and respecting the individual that is making the sacrifice for you, and understand that like a person is willing to make that sacrifice for you, that's a person that genuinely cares about you. And understand, as men heal and men develop the language to be able to express themselves, it's going to require more responsibility, because to carry somebody's emotion, I'm not even saying emotional weight, just to carry somebody's emotion is a task. You know, carrying somebody's smile and carrying somebody happy is a task. Carrying their hurt and their depression is a task. And in my experience, that's just not been something that others have had to carry as it pertains to men, because we just held it in and let it run the blood pressure up and cause the diabetes and all of that kind of stuff. But we're living in a time now where we understand that it's important for me to heal so that I can be the best that I can. And we're not going to continue sitting silent and just taking everything that comes with the silence. And so I think that all of us need to prepare ourselves to be able to hear what comes with it, and understand the man expressing himself is such a new phenomenon that it's going to take some getting used to. But a man that learns how to express himself will relieve himself of a lot of burdens. And, you know, just knowing that this woman, this child that I care so much about actually sees that I am doing this to care as an expression of my love, care, and concern for them is important. And then we as men have to understand that with all of our doing, sometimes what we got to do is be present for those in our lives, because all of the money in the world will never replace presence. And if it does, then we failed if we create an atmosphere that things replace presence. That's a failure. So that's my thoughts.
Hey, Lady Dawn. Hey, Lady Dawn.
Yes,
can
sir.
I
Yes,
say
sir.
one more thing? Can I say one
Sure.
more thing?
Sure.
It's going to take me like 30 seconds. And on this platform, we could say certain things, right?
Yeah, you're free.
All right. So, and just for the ladies that you may have a man in your life that you know what I mean, that you real fond of and he real fond of you. And for us being fathers and things like that, understand that one day we are going to die. We don't know what day that's going to be. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be next week. We are going to die. The things that we do that we get, it's like we said, it's a thankless job. Only thing that we ask for, we don't ask to get repaid for it. We just ask for appreciation from the people that we are doing this thankless job for. Just appreciation. You ain't never got to pay me back $1 as your dad. You ain't never got to pay me back $1 as your husband. Show appreciation. The truth is, one day we are going to die, and we might die before you. Appreciate us, because for sure, I know every man on here that has their lady or their kids, we appreciate y'all and we love y'all, and we just want to feel the same thing. And y'all to understand that we may not be here no more at any point in time, and we just want to be able to, for y'all to understand that, to cherish us in all capacities. And that was it for me.
No, that was good, and that's the real. And so see now they may be going into overtime because I love that. And so the last thing I'm going to ask is, because I think that we hear you, and that's real, and that we need to sit in that reality, you know, that these men who show up for us one day will not be here, you know, and that parting may take place before we go. But just real quick, if y'all can say or share, we hear you when you say about you want to feel appreciated. That let us show you that we appreciate you. So I just want to ask real quick before we end, what does that look like? Because some of us don't know what appreciation to you looks like. Like, how should I be showing you that? I might think I'm showing you appreciation by bringing you some water or fixing you a snack or buying you a shirt, taking your car to get it washed. I'm just saying, because give some, but these are some of the things that we think of, so what does appreciation look like to men? Like, how should we be showing that to you? Because we may think it's performatory and it may be us just hugging you, just so we know what that looks like. Because some of us don't, I'm being honest.
I can answer that too. I think I may have a an answer for it. I don't know how well it's going to be, but
It's okay.
it is. It is sometimes it's just saying the words and being honest about how you feel about certain things. Being just even picking something specific that the man has done that it may not have been his job to do or whatever it is. Something he may have done. Something simple. And you go to him and you say, babe, I saw what you did. I appreciate what you did. I appreciate that 100%. And don't get me wrong, the bringing of the water and the bringing of the food and stuff like that, heck yeah, we know that's appreciation. Sometimes we verbally need to hear you say something. Sometimes we verbally need to hear you acknowledge something specific. Don't just you come and say, yo, babe, I appreciate every single thing you do. It's kind of generic. What did you appreciate? What and how did you feel when it happened? Now that I know that this thing makes you feel good, it gives me more fuel to go do it again.
Got
And
it.
and me doing it again, I'm gonna get that pat on the back. It sound crazy me being 41 saying I want a pat on the back, right? But it's true.
No.
You, you giving me a pat on the back. Now I'm gonna go double time before you go do it again. That's just where we at with it. But be specific. What is it? How did you feel when it was done? Tell me. I need to know that.
Yeah,
I hope y'all hear
absolutely.
that. Add
I
to
think,
it.
yeah, no, I want to just say, I think that try my experience, try to push us away less. That push away is breaking and destroying. Um, because we do it, and I'm not talking specifically bedroom talk. I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
we do it when we don't feel like it often. So every once in a while, it feels good to know that you pushed past yourself and looked at me. And so try to push away, because I'm telling you, like, I've learned that push away is destroying. It is not helpful, and it'll get a guy to it got me to a place where I had to protect me by stop giving you the opportunity to push me away. And then you called me quiet and emotionless.
Mm.
You called me, said I was cut off, not realizing how true the statement was. I literally was cut off, because when I tried to hug and when I tried to, have a conversation and just express myself, that cut off, it is shattering. Attempts at vulnerability that are not honored is shattering, and you will eventually create a space where the man has to protect himself. Because I think everybody knows, like, when you violate a man's vulnerability, you may not ever get the opportunity to do that again.
True.
You may not ever get that opportunity. So I think every once in a while, do it even if you don't feel like it. Because believe me, if it's a man, he's done something he did not feel like doing. You know what I'm saying? He's tried to make a space that felt really good for you, even if it didn't feel good for him. Because, like Damien just said, it just knowing that my aim to put a smile on your face, that it did it, and you honored it. I'm going back and try to put another smile on your face tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I work harder so that I can put together that situation that will allow me to put a smile on your face. For a lot of men, just knowing that I'm the reason that you smile, not the purse, not the bag, not the trip, but I'm the reason you'll get a purse, a bag, and a trip. So that's what I think.
Got it. No,
Hey, yo,
I
good night,
appreciate
y'all.
that.
I gotta
Appreciate
roll.
it.
I gotta roll. Good night, y'all.
Yeah, good night. Don't get in trouble, Damien. We want you to come back. Thank you guys for all your sharing. Thank you, Moose. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Coach Theo. Yeah, we went into a little overtime tonight, and I appreciate you guys hanging out. Of course, anytime you come on and you gotta jump, please, do what you do. I appreciate you just coming and pouring when you do. So, ladies, I hope we leaned in. Family, I hope we leaned in. Share this with a friend. Understanding that it is just simple as that. Take some pressure off, I think. I know for me, hearing that makes a world of difference. But I want to thank you all for joining us this month as we focus on the men, and thank the men for showing up and for sharing and for pouring. We had Coach AJW, Damien, Call Me First, and of course, Moose, the voice of God, is in the building. Listen, y'all know what to do. We ain't even gonna keep it. We're gonna let y'all go and enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. Coach Theo will be back with us. Everybody will be back with us. Have a great night, everyone. Join us every Thursday right here. Look for some upcoming announcements, because we're about to shift and make some changes. But you're still gonna get this great conversation every Thursday with me, your girl, Lady Dawn B, and the Thursday Night Squad. Who does it better? Nobody. Have a great night.